but I want to welcome my neighbors from South Boston here. And I know there's neighbors as well from Dorchester that's here as well. I want to thank you, first of all, for being here, for your engagement, for your calls, your emails, your texts, but the concern you have about our community, the love you have for our community. So I just want to let people know this is being broadcast on video, live stream, with the Andrew Square Civic Association as well. So
it's going to YouTube, South Boston Beat.
Okay, YouTube, South Boston Beat. So I'm here with the South Boston elected officials, but I'm going to go right to the panel that's here. And at this time, I would like to recognize the panel that's up here on the front on the stage, including Boston Police Sergeant Fitton, Lieutenant Peter Musina, who does the outreach at Mass and Cass for the Boston Police Department. We have Mass State Police Lieutenant Kevin Shea. He's in charge of the barracks here in South Boston. We have the head of the MBTA Police Superintendent Sullivan. Thank you for being with us. Captain Biele from C6, and as you know, C6 includes all of South Boston. We have a good portion of Mass and Cass as well, and into Dorchester. So we're fortunate to have strong partnerships with these public safety professionals. I also know the District Attorney's office is here as well. Kevin Mellon, thank you for being here. My colleagues in city government and state government, federal government, include State Representative David Biele, City Councilor Michael Flaherty, Councilor Erin Mercer, State Senator Nick Collins, and Congressman Stephen Lynch. At this time, I'm going to ask the panelists to come up here and maybe speak for 1 or 2 minutes on what we're seeing in South Boston, how we can work together. We have seen several incidents, violent incidents, whether it be here in Andrew Station, Andrew Square area, on Dorchester Street, Dorchester Avenue. But what's important is we work together as a community, work closely with our public safety professionals in making sure that we work together in advocating for resources, needed resources here in our community. It's also about quality of life issues. We want to make sure that this neighborhood has its fair share of basic city services. We certainly advocate every day for our share of city services, but we also want to say and acknowledge the partnership we have with these public safety professionals, especially during these challenging times. Having said that, I'm going to ask Captain Biele to kick it off. We also have the Mayor's Office, Office of Neighborhood Services is here, the Probation Department from the Suffolk Superior Court and South Boston Courthouse is here as well. Michael Forbes is the chief at Suffolk, and Chief Banks is at South Boston Courthouse. At this time, I'm going to ask Captain Biele to talk about how we're coordinating resources in and around South Boston and how we can work together with the community as well.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. So just to give you a breakdown what C6 is for the Boston Police, it goes from the seaport into the neighborhood. We have 3 housing developments, we have Harbor Points. We come into Andrew Square, we get South Bay Mall. We go to Mass and Cass, the area where the tents are and the homeless issues are. C6 covers it. So we're a very busy district. I can tell you on the weekends, the last 4 weekends, we're averaging about 380 911 calls on the weekend. So I can tell you our police officers are going from one spot to the next spot, and they're working very hard to deal with the quality of life issues and the violent crime. So, like I said, we realized Andrew Square in particular over the last couple of weeks has seen some issues. There was shots fired a week ago at 395 Dorchester Street, where we have video of 2 young men on a scooter firing rounds, and the rounds hit 3 cars, so we recovered 9mm shells from that case, from that scene. So we got some video on it. Our detectives are on it. We have our gang unit helping us and our drug unit helping us. Just to let you know, after that happened, I asked our drug unit to spent some time at Andrew Square. So 2 days later, I joined in with monitoring the scene. They see a couple of scooters going through Andrew Square. They follow the scooters up, they get them in a traffic violation inside South Bay Mall, and they make it an arrest for trafficking at that mall. So the officer there, we're doing the work. Like I said, we got a lot going on. We try to cover the parks, we try to cover the schools. We're locally, we're trying to cover the housing developments, we're covering Harbor Point. We got to cover the seaport, we got to cover West Broadway, East Broadway at nighttime with the bars and restaurants, the lines and the crowd noise. So we're not like we used to be. I mean, we're a very busy district, so we do the best we can with the resources we have, and we try to deploy intelligence where we can make the most effect and we have the most problems. So we'll continue to do that. Like we said, Councilor Flynn said we work closely with the T Police, we work closely with the state police, and if they need any help from us, they ask, and vice versa, they help us, and they help us out on any problems. So, just getting back to the Andrew Square area, I know the residents there have been seeing some issues with the homeless coming in, and just a lot of issues. So I asked Pete and Steve to come here tonight and talk about some of the issues. I'm actually heavily involved in the mass and gas and the policing, and I sit these meetings once a week, what's going on down there. And there's a lot of effort being made, there's a lot of resources put into it. So I can tell you from the city's perspective that there's a lot of resources being placed into there. So, can I ask you to come up?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you to come up to me and just talk about mass and gas. But if you have any questions, just if I could just.
We're gonna let the panelists speak first, then we're gonna give the opportunity for residents.
Yeah. So we have a great community service office. Sergeant Pitt's here, hospitality Phil's here. I just want to make it clear, we go to every monthly meeting in the community. We're out there every month, and we're always available. The CSO is always available. So you can come in and see us. You can come to District 6, or you can come to one of the regularly scheduled meetings, and we'll do the best we can to address your complaints and address your concerns. So I'll ask Peter to come up.
It's a little hard to hear with the echo.
We'll have to talk a little bit louder. I don't think it is working. But I also want to recognize from the Parks Department, Deputy Commissioner Steve Bickerton, actually with administration and finance. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. So, my name is Lieutenant Peter Messina from the Street Outreach Unit. We specialize in dealing with homeless individuals suffering from mental illness, along with individuals suffering from substance use disorder. As such, we are pretty centralized in the Massacass area. As all of you in this room know, the Massacass area is a difficult area to police in due to the fact that there's three districts that encompass that one area. We work closely with the MBTA and state police along with all the districts that operate in that area. So about a month, obviously everyone knows about January 12th. There was a lot of encampments there, a lot of tents, roughly at any given day between 110 and 130. Those issues have been resolved from the January 12th date. But we're still seeing community blight, we're still seeing crime in the area. In the current state of affairs, there's between roughly 75 and 150 individuals out there daily at any given day. That number fluctuates as the weather fluctuates. About a month ago, the city's warm weather plan went into effect. This warm weather plan consisted of increased enforcement, increased diversion, working with the district attorney's office, and increased law enforcement collaboration. Roughly 20 to 25 officers from 3 different districts are out there, including specialized units, working in the area. Daily, we're assisting with the cleaning of the area. We do this with DPW and the Mayor's Office of Recovery Services to make sure that the trash is picked up and it's coordinated down there. We're also assisting with nonprofits in the area, working to try to get individuals housing to get them off the street. One thing we are seeing, though, a lot of the individuals that are currently out there are long-term residents of the area. Some of these individuals have been out there for 5 or 6 years. So we are working on establishing alternative plans, on working with those individuals to get them the services they need. Bottom line is the Boston Police Department cannot arrest our way out of this. And it's, we need community involvement. We need help from you all in this room on different ideas on how we can solve this problem. One thing I do want to point out, though, is what the Boston Police Department is doing out there regarding enforcement. So, as of, I went back to May 18th, our arbitrary date, just to compile all the data. But since
Year-to-date drug incidents, as of June 10th, which is Friday, there have been 138 incidents out there. Year-to-date total drug incident suspects has been 199 suspects involved with the Boston Police Department. Drug arrests, we've had 90 as of June 10th, 34 individuals arrested since May 18th alone, 31 more arrests since May 18th. We've also have total arrests up year-to-date. There's been a 98% increase from this year to last year. So it's been a significant increase. One thing that is important to note, year over year calls for service, there's been a 12% decrease in calls for service in that specific area, which correlates with our increase in arrests. Bottom line, we are continuing out there. The key is coordination of resources, and that's one thing that we are moving forward with in collaborating with all our law enforcement partners. So, no.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Captain. As I mentioned, Boston Police is working closely with Mass State Police, and at this time I would like to ask Lieutenant Kevin Shea to come on up and give a briefing on how that process is going and what issues we're seeing.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Shea, I'm the station commander in South Boston. Just as far as this meeting goes, the state roads that we cover in beaches would be Hay Boulevard from Carson Beach to M Street Beach to Castle Island. For South Boston, we also have Port John Paul Park and the DCR Properties Road, South Boston, Dorchester, and Quincy. As of Memorial Day weekend, we do add patrols. 2 or 3 patrols are added during the week, as well on the weekends, day and night shift. We also have resources available we have our horses on mounted patrol, K9, stock team, are also available to respond to. Obviously, there's been some issues down the beach that seems to have quieted down right now, but also we do have extra patrols and supplemental patrols as well when needed. That's really all I have for now. Available for questions later on tonight.
Thank you, Lieutenant. This meeting came about when residents of Andrew Square reached out to us, the Andrew Square Civic Association, reached out to the South Boston elected officials. So at this time, I want to say thank you to the Andrew Square Civic Association, but also the critical role the MBTA police play in and around Andrew Square. So I'd like to ask Superintendent Sullivan if you would like to come up and highlight what our team is working on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Richard Sullivan, the Superintendent of Police for the MBTA. Respect everyone's time in this room tonight, so I'll be brief because I know you have questions. So the biggest challenges we're having at Andrew Squares, which should come as no surprise, is we're getting a lot of overflow from mass and cats. So obviously we're dealing with a lot of people that have substance abuse issues, homelessness, and mental health issues. That's on a constant basis. And I know when you pass through them, you see that. If we were just to move them out, we're just displacing them onto Boston. Boston's going to push them back in. That's not the solution. The second problem we're having at Andrew Square Station is the school kids at school time break. Might sound small. I encourage you to pass through there during school break, and you'll see some of the chaos that can be caused from a lot of kids. Youth disorder, we'll call it, but a lot of it turns into assaults. The main schools that we're having the issues with are Up Academy and Excel Academy. We do try to work with the BPS on that so we can try to manage and control that, but it's challenging at times. So we dedicate a lot of resources to Andrew Square, particularly with data training, particularly at times where we're getting the concentration of those folks in conjunction with the school breaks and based on when crime is happening in conjunction with high volume of ridership. So I know you have a lot of questions with that. I can talk all night, but I'll end it.
Hold on for a second. I know. I'm going to ask when we do go to the question for Q&A, I'm going to ask people to raise their hands, so I'll call on you and just give your name and where you live, what neighborhood you live in. Having said that, I'm going to go directly now to, and we're going to have a period for Q&A, and your questions will be answered. That being said, I'm going to go directly now to Congressman Lynch to ask Congressman Lynch to provide an update.
Right. Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. I want to thank our law enforcement partners. We've had a series of meetings with law enforcement. We met up at the governor's office, I don't know, about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, just to try to coordinate our efforts. At that point in time, we were talking about the altercations that were happening on Carson Beach. And so we brought in a sort of a task force to try to deal with that situation. But since then, we've had the drive-by incident and drive-by shooting at the end of the square. So we thought this was a good opportunity. My office was getting the calls just as well as my colleagues. My role in this is to try to bring federal resources. So in the past, when we've seen a spike in crime, I've been able to bring in the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and they've been able to put extra personnel on our issues, and it's worked very, very well. But there's an ongoing partnership between Boston Police, state police, MBTA. They're all working together. The idea here is to try to get the resources that are necessary to deal with the problems that they have. Look, we understand that people have to feel safe. People have to feel safe in their own homes and their own neighborhoods. That's been a tradition here. I think it's been something that has set this part of the city apart. And we're trying our best to preserve that and make sure that the resources are there, that the support is there for our men and women in uniform that are trying to do that job on a daily basis. This goes back to, we had a shooting incident 2 years now at the stadium in Moakley Park. And since then, through Captain Boyle's efforts, we've had a cruiser sitting out there, basically at all of the hours that we would have people present there. And actually even beyond that, to make sure that nothing happens there that harms people that are in there trying to use the park for youth sporting programs or the kids' soccer or even the basketball court there. So I'm really, really thankful that the captain has put that type of presence out there. We are having a little bit of an issue with surveillance. So in the past we've had surveillance cameras and ShotSpotter technology that was available to actually help. It's a big area, right? And we only have a limited number of officers that are available. So when we have surveillance along the beach, and much of that was hooked into the Coast Guard in case someone, a swimmer gets lost or there's a boating accident or something like that. And then we've got other surveillance points and cameras that were active throughout the community. There's been some opposition to that in recent months and over the past year, and we're trying to get a lot of that back online to add another layer of observation to make sure that if something does happen, that the police and the state police and Boston police and MBTA police response is even quicker. So that's something that we're struggling with. We met with the company Lantel that actually provides the services for surveillance. Obviously, there are some in the community that feel that, such as the ACLU, that feels that maybe that surveillance is a little bit over the top or unwarranted. But what we're seeing is that any tool that would allow the police to be quicker in their responses in a difficult situation is beneficial to the community, and that we also have spikes, so that during those moments of those periods of high crime activity, we would like the added opportunity to have surveillance in those areas to protect residents. And that goes for public housing developments as well. So this has been a good partnership. We're still working on some issues. We appreciate the patience and the support of the community. And look, I'm only here a few days a week, so I rely heavily on our local delegation, on Ed Flynn and Mike Flaherty and Erin Murphy, and also David Biele and Senator Collins, our entire delegation, so we're trying to work together. And so far, we've had very good, meaningful cooperation with Mayor Wu as well. She recognizes the need for that extra presence, and she's working with us. She's new, her administration is new, but I see nothing but an earnest willingness to help us with this situation. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. At this time, I'd like to ask State Senator Nick Collins. Excuse me? State Senator Nick Collins.
Thank you, Council. To thank public safety officials, and Representative Biele, who's worked with us to make sure we get extra funding for the beach patrols, for public spaces, and for our team. There's a lot that the police are doing. We say they can't arrest their warehouse situation, which is true, but decisions we make are impacting. So on the Section 35s, on civil interventions, I'm looking for an expansion of that so we can do that. And it's not for those that are just suffering from addiction, that's a way to engage and to intervene, where if somebody is on something, they're more likely to commit a crime. And I know there's an effort being made down in Mass and Cash right now, concentrically, but citywide. An example, a few weeks ago, the police that responded in Dorchester to a domestic were responding to an individual who had an open warrant for a domestic at the same address. It was a violent response that ended up the officer using his training and relying on his training had to prevent further loss of life. And that's sort of what we're looking at. And I feel that at this point, I would support a warrant sweep for folks who have violence in their backgrounds, that are open warrants, anyone who's been trafficking. Because if you traffic drugs like fentanyl, that's deadly poison. So you need to get them off the street along with them trafficking. So those are some things that I would support, and really be grateful for the partnership with the police and for how they responded, particularly in South Boston the last few weeks. And look forward to continuing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. At this time, I would like to recognize Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Murphy, and Baker to speak briefly.
Thank you, President Flynn. We're very grateful. We work for you, so it's an opportunity for us to hear from you. I just want to share with you, we had a meeting, as Congressman Lynch alluded to, that both Nick and David set up in the governor's office with our police officers a couple weeks ago. And I said to them, and I'll say it to all of you tonight, is that this is a community that supports its police officers. We appreciate and respect the work that you do. We know it's a difficult job. We want you to go home safely to your families at night. We, obviously, Councilor Flynn, myself, Baker, and Erin Murphy, we're fighting tooth and claw to get you the resources that you need in our budget. I'm sure that obviously Nick and David will speak the same, and Congressman Lynch on the federal side. But it's also a neighborhood that expects that we enforce the law, and that we also expect that district attorney's office to do what they need to do. So we're hoping to sort of hit a reset button on a lot of the quality of life crimes where there may be reluctance to get out of the cruiser, or there may be reluctance to engage just because of the body cams or the handhelds. But this is a community that will back you up. This is an elected delegation that will back you up when you need to make those decisions. So I want you to know that we have your back, and we're just asking that the laws be enforced. We want to make sure that we maintain a safe community, a safe neighborhood, and that we'll continue to support you. And we also need to put some pressure on District Attorney Kevin Hayden's office. I know Kevin Mullen and Portland here. I work with both of them in the DA's office. I know that they take that role very seriously. But the days of just sort of dismissing prior to a reining in or not supporting you when you do have to make an arrest or you have to intervene, knowing that you have a district attorney's office that will back you up, in addition to having a community that will back you up, I think that will help you in terms of being able to do your job and make our neighborhood safer. So again, thank you for the work you do. We have you back. We just need you to be out there throwing a shoulder into it, because the quality of life has been changing on a pretty regular basis. In things that folks get away with and or are not confronted or not held accountable for, it just worsens, and that problem worsens. And we want to take Congressman Senator Lynch, Senator Collins mentioned a warrant sweep for this community in the district. I would argue that as we head into the summer months, we should probably talk to the DA. We should probably do a citywide warrant sweep and get the violent offenders, those that have been not only carrying weapons but also trafficking drugs and fentanyl. Let's round them up. Let's get them off the streets so we can save some.
Thank you again for your time and attention for the great work you do. Thank you.
I'll be quick because I am also looking forward to your opportunity to ask questions, but I do want to say thank you to our first responders. I know you're out there and doing a great job. And quality of life issues, right? Oh, and also I want to thank my South Boston elected officials who have welcomed me here because I care about this work also. So thank you for letting me be here. But this is a quality of life issue. Safety matters. You as residents in this neighborhood deserve to be safe. If we're taking the T through Andrew Station, if you're on the bus shopping at the mall, you deserve to be safe. But I also wonder, when I think it will probably come up to safety in our schools. Our students in this neighborhood deserve to be safe across the city. And we need to make sure as elected officials, we're letting those in this space, the DA's office, the police, that they can do their job. So I'm looking forward to your questions, and I'm here to support, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Eddie. Good evening, everyone. They told me it was a casual night tonight, but I guess. I'm all with what Nick had to say. Warren Sweeps, I think what Senator Lynch, what Congressman Lynch had to say, we need to get more land talent involved, more surveillance in different spots, and it's not surveillance where we're watching individuals, we're watching areas where hotspots happen. There's decisions being made down in Mass and Cass that are affecting these neighborhoods directly. I personally think that we as a city, as a society, should maybe get a little tougher on the what's happening down in Mass and Cass. We're allowing open drug use to happen and open drug dealing to happen and everything that comes along with that. So I think we as the people should get a little stronger on what's happening down there. We are taking people directly off the street and put them into housing that we don't have for that we can't get our own people into. So I think some of what's happening down in Mass and Cass now is exactly opposite of what we should be doing. Again, that's a longer discussion than here tonight, but I do believe in the Warren Sweeps. I think we need to get some more surveillance around in different areas, and let's start putting the bad guys. Let's start holding the bad guys accountable. Thank you, everybody.
Representative David Biele. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Council President Flynn. Good evening, everyone. We're all here because we all want the same thing. We want to feel safe in our homes. We want to feel safe in our communities, and that's what we're here to talk about. It takes a tremendous amount of cooperation in order to get there. We have support from the Congressman, through the state delegation, to the city delegation, law enforcement from many different agencies at the city and state level, and the only way we get through this is by working together. Part of our job, our responsibility, is to make sure that law enforcement has the resources that they need to do the job so that we can feel safe in our neighborhoods. And working with Senator Collins, we're working to make sure that the state police have that funding for directed patrols on state properties, not just on our beaches, but down at Castle Island and wherever they have that. So that's something we're committed to doing, and we'll stay on that. I am thankful that we have representation from the district attorney's office. Because with any criminal proceeding, there's a law enforcement side and then a trial side, and the only way that happens is with cooperation from the DA's office. So I'm certainly happy to see Kevin Mullen and Tara Biden here on behalf of the DA, because we're going to need your help in order to secure our communities and make our neighborhood feel safe. I've gone on long enough, but I'm here. I'm committed to working with you to make sure that we enjoy the quality of life that everybody's entitled to, that we feel safe in our neighborhoods, and thank you so much for being a part of this conversation tonight.
Thank you, David. Tonight was really about listening to you and listening to your questions. We did get through the panel, but having said that, I would like to open it up to Q&A. The only thing I would ask is if you state your name, where you live, and if we could keep it under a minute, and I'll have the appropriate person respond. We're just not able to give a long discussion from Q&A tonight, back and forth. So maybe one question or a quick comment. Let me go directly to you, Chico. And again, I'm going to ask everyone to speak if you do have the floor for 1 minute. Chico.
Thank you. My name is Bert Malkowski, alias Chico, live in South Boston here. What I wanted to ask Superintendent Sullivan, when you up on the beach, after the beach lets out down at the T station, both Amanda Square and I'm sorry, the government, do you have ample police down there that day to take care of the crowds of people leaving the beach?
Superintendent.
Thank you, sir, for the question. So, like all law enforcement agencies throughout the country, we're struggling with recruitment and retention. That being said, we did have sufficient resources at those two stations because we had intelligence that there was going to be a high volume of people using those stations, going and coming back. In addition to that, I'd like to recognize Senator Collins, who was able to secure, I think it was $100,000 dedicated just for T-Police Patrol on the red line from Broadway to Ashland.
There's one more approach.
Chico, quickly, Chico.
One more question on that. You watched Channel 4, I think it was 2 weeks ago, on Revere Beach, a young lady that has a concession there, got on the T. She got harassed by the gangs that were on there. No police around. I thought you guys that we hired, but in the city of Boston anyways, you're supposed to ride the T. You don't ride the T. You're going up this beach with 20 bikes. There's no need of that. And we see that, we look at that when people get the crap kicked out of them. At Shelmer Station there, a 65-year-old guy, a couple of weeks ago, come on. I mean, Boston Police had to respond to all those calls, and then you guys come second. That's not right. You guys got to ride the T. You got to give us what we are paying you for, and that's it. I mean, I'm just sick and tired of this. Living here for close to 35 years, and we've never seen it this bad. I mean, I'm not trying to take it out on you or the T. I'm just trying to tell you that you need more police officers inside those T stations. That's where the damage is being done.
Well,
and the other thing
no, Chico, I'm going to give the superintendent the opportunity to respond. Thank you. Chico, I gotta keep track of the meeting. I apologize. Go ahead, Superintendent.
Thank you. I appreciate your concern.
I agree, Chico. Give the superintendent the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Chico. Chico, I'm going to give the superintendent the opportunity to speak. All right. Linda's talking.
Chico, I'm talking now. Thank you.
And
I don't have accolades where I got to do. I'll tell you that. Especially you, Captain Boyle. You were held in the street together. It is falling apart piece by piece. We all know this. My question is, I've heard twice up here saying, we cannot arrest our way out of this. No, we cannot. We can program our way out of this. Why do we not have mandatory programs for drug rehabilitation and for mental institutions, not mental institutions, but for mental disabilities, and work with that? Frank, I agree with you all the way, Councilor. You cannot take people off the street and put them in a room and they can continue doing what they're doing with no obligation to anything else. That is absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous. We've got veterans sleeping on the street. So they should be put in a program. And we as a civilized society have an obligation to make decisions for people who can't make the right ones for themselves. So we need all to stand up and make the laws different. We need you to enforce these. Yep. We need you to make sure that when the men make an arrest, that things happen. And that's my thing here. We're losing it as a society.
Thank you, Linda. And the reason we're here tonight is because of Linda and Patty and their advocacy. And I just want to stress again, we're only going to have about a minute per person. I want to get through as many questions and comments as I can. I don't mean to cut people off, but I want to get as many people as we can. Way in the back.
Good evening. My name is
bring up a great point about having a public health approach. But that comes with accountability. Otherwise, it's come in and you're out.
That's the problem. There's no accountability from anybody.
Oh, well, there's decisions that are made that push back on that. So, I mentioned earlier, Section 35 intervention, that's civil. People say, oh no, it's inhumane. The same people who sit in the streets. Intervening on that is inhumane to some people. Enough people to prevent that from being a 24/7 operation, where overdoses happen 24/7 down there. People are congregating in hallways like yours in parts of the city. It's outrageous. So what do? If you can't arrest your way out of a situation, I think that's a position, that's a politic that is going to de facto position on everything. You can't arrest your way out of a situation. So why bother trying? I think that's the wrong approach. If we don't support that from happening, then honestly, I think that if we aren't engaged in law enforcement is a big part of that, even if the aftermath and the outcome is a commitment, which is what I support. I support similar interventions, but forced commitment by people who don't want to accept that, despite the activities that they're engaged in. Pardon me?
The police and the courts don't even take Section 35 seriously. You have to jump through hoops to get a Section 35, and then the police don't even show up. There's no sense of urgency.
So one tweak that I'm trying to make to the law is that 24/7, people who are loved ones, people who are in the public health would have the ability to do that 24/7. Right now, law enforcement community can. There's a judge on call for that.
They're not, though.
Pardon me?
They don't respond. Or they take the time.
Well, yeah, because we have rooms like this where people say, don't respond, don't arrest your way out of the situation, give it up. I disagree with that. I think we need to continue doing the passion.
Thank you, Senator Congressman. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're also joined by Chief Probation Officer Michael Forbes and the Chief Probation Officer from South Boston Courthouse. They've been very engaged and active on these issues. Either chief, if you would like to come up and weigh in, but as you come up, let me take another question from right here on the far right. Yeah. Could one person talk at a time, please?
See, my husband up.
Okay, I'm going to call you after, but I want to answer up, though. I want to answer up.
Patty from Mohawk Street. I have two quick questions.
Sure.
One, what does the T have to do with my son has to look at these people having sex every morning, for one, in the train station, and two, you're talking about Union Square, you're not talking about Veterans Park over the projects. They're over there every single day shooting up with kids playing basketball. Who has control of that area? Where are the BHA go?
Well, if BHA is here tonight, I should have mentioned them at the beginning.
They have controls because what do they look like? Because we don't see them.
Okay.
I live right there. I don't like coming out to my car in my driveway every day and looking at this and having them come in my driveway. It's been going on for 5 years I've been dealing with this. Something has to be done.
Two questions. One was on MBTA. Superintendent Sullivan, can you respond to that? And then I'll have Captain Boyle respond to the BHA.
Ma'am, I assume you're talking about Andrew Square?
Yes.
And could you just give me the time that your son's...
All day. 5:30 in the morning, my son sees it.
Right.
He gets the first train every day.
Right. Andrew Square is on our list, but we go and we try to clear it out, right? So kids get in there. I'm sorry, man. Right, we've had a lot of challenges with Andrew Square, from overflow coming down, not displacing it. I'll make sure tonight that I reinforce that they have to be there in the morning, visible, and trying to sweep people out. I get it. It starts in the busway, but it also goes downstairs and at the elevators.
We also have Chief Benford from the Boston Housing Authority Police. Chief, would you like to come up here, please? Can you respond to some of the comments from one of our neighbors?
Good evening, everyone. So I certainly hear your concerns with it, and I don't want to present it as though it's an excuse, but I do want to give you some context as to where the BHA Police Department currently exists. Over the last 20 years, the BHA Police Department was set up to dissolve through attrition. And over the last year and a half, with a tremendous commitment by the administrator, Flynn, we've invested in some additional officers coming on board. The challenge that we have, as the superintendent talked about, with recruiting and funding issues. And one of the things that we're doing is we're looking to reform our model. And I know it's difficult to hear, but it does take a collaborative approach to try and address some of these issues and concerns. But as we work to reform the department, we're also looking at rebuilding over 20 years of precipitous fall off with our officers. And just to give you some context, when I took over command of the department in January 1st of 2021, I had 4 officers. Okay, respectfully so, it's going to take time to get there, and I really can't, and we really can't respond. Sergeant Pentecost that's here with us that does lots of good work over here, but it's going to take a collaborative approach. We've met with different members within the development, we've met with different advocates to try and share what our new model is and working in partnership to try and address some of these issues. But it is going to take time. I want to just share that context in terms of where we're going, where we've been, and how we're going to get there. It's going to take some time for us to rebuild those resources.
Well, the other thing I want to say is, you're us in here, if we can get like contact numbers for everybody, instead of calling 911, maybe a direct line to someone that we can just call. That way we have a record of all these different calls.
So I'll certainly be able to do that. We do have some access numbers from which you can reach us, but what I do want to say is 2 things, right? 911 can't be replaced if you have a legitimate emergency need, right? That has to be the response. But prior to getting there, the commitment that we're making is to work with you before it gets there to try and deter individuals from involving themselves, A, with criminal and deviant activity, but secondly, to also work with you to problem solve. You're going to know your developments and your communities 10 times better than we ever would, and we're looking to work in partnership with you to solve some of these issues.
Thank you, Chief. We're also, I want to recognize Reverend Eugene Rivers for the 10-point coalition that's here as well. Thank you, Reverend, for being with us. We're expecting to get a handheld microphone in the next couple of minutes, but in the meantime, the woman in the red shirt, can you...
The t-shirt dress, I think.
Can you come up and closer so we can...
Yes, I certainly can. My own forward.
Okay.
OFD, Dorchester Crocker. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to address the workers on this side of the panel. On December 1st, 2021, the Boston Police Department issued an advisory in conjunction or partnership with the Licensed Premises Unit and the Licensing Board due to reported incidents of spiked drinks in Boston bars. At the time, attention to this and actually the requirement that bars post conspicuous notices for patron safety was ignored due to the now enjoined, now rescinded, be together mandate, policy, whatever you want to call it. Recently, there was a social media post that urged the Boston Police Department to once again issue the same advisory. By then, there had been an uptick in these incidents. People had been, especially during the Boston College Memorial Day weekend. What I would like to ask you, because you are in real life, boots on the ground there, is how, as Boston citizens, can we feel that there's even enough law enforcement when attention is being diverted to, and respectfully, Mr. Lynch, no, it doesn't matter if Michelle who was new. Shame on who got it. But what I would like to ask is how can we feel safe when we are seeing literally upticks in these kinds of incidents that don't necessarily involve guns, or even wondering if, the city litigating with unions and public safety unions is going to reduce the amount of people who are able to be out there responding to incidents. I would just get some kind of idea of how we're really actually supposed to feel safe when public safety is fighting stuff in court with this here. Thank you.
Let me ask Captain.
We got a bunch of licensed premises in the Seaport and in South Boston. And I can tell you, every weekend we have supervisors out on the street inspecting. We have police officers assigned out front. So we go in, we check the establishments, we work with these establishments, we meet with the licensing board, we meet with the managers, and we go over best practices. So
these notices are not posted.
I'm not going to get to notice. I'm trying to get to a district level. Okay, so we do the best we can, and we're out there every weekend. East Broadway, West Broadway, the Seaport, all of our establishments, working with the management, working with the licensing board. and explain what happened. So we take it very seriously. No, we do. I personally, we do.
Sir, I saw one of those incidents, I saw one of those notices that were required. They were not posted. Okay, but there were a lot of vaccine face mask mandate notices posted, right?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Captain. At this time, could I ask the Chief Probation Officer of Suffolk Superior Court to speak on behalf of what probation is doing in and around Mass and Cass, but also in South Boston as well? Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, everybody. Who said, I work at the Suffolk Superior Court Probation Department. We work with defendants that are coming out of state prison for the most part, and we're making their reintegration back. Part of that reintegration is dealing with substance abuse, mental health issues. I agree that we can't arrest our way out of the situation that we're in so far as Mass and Cass and in the surrounding areas. There's a lot of violence in the community. There's a lot of substance abuse issues and mental health issues in the community. And with the support and the help of Boston Police and the District Attorney's Office, the trial court is making steps towards addressing these issues. We are offering a lot of services, a lot of mental health services, substance abuse counseling. We're partnering with the programs in the community, and we're doing what we can to address the issues as they are presented to us.
How many arrests have been done for the spectrum incidents in Boston?
I'm sorry?
How many people have actually been arrested in connection with spiking and drumming people's drinks from December to how many? Do we have a number?
I feel your frustration. I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I have no idea. I work for the probation department.
Thank you, Chief, and appreciate the work the probation department is doing throughout the Commonwealth. Let me take another question. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you would like to get up,
So my name's Marie. I live on CN Athens, Marie Allen. I just want to say, thank you to the Boston PC6. They do go above and beyond. A lot of our issues we have in the community, it's not that they're not arresting, it's that they're getting released right after they're arrested the next day. They're getting bailed out. And my issue is really we got to figure out the DA level instead of attacking the police that are out there doing what they're going to do. They're just getting released. Gun charges that have been during 5 years. In 2 weeks, summer's again. The kids are going to be playing in these backwards in the projects. It's going to be really tough for them with half of their police officers are gone and their budgets and all that other. Kudos to all you guys that keep showing up.
Thank you for your comment, and obviously if the District Attorney's Office wants to comment, they're more than welcome to comment as well. Yes, ma'am, right in the middle. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Paula Warren, and I live in 5 on the way. I have pictures today at 4:36 before I came to this meeting on Veterans Park on shooting up. So right out in the open, so I mean, if everyone's addressing it.
Can you repeat that location again?
O'Connor Way, Veterans Park. I have a picture at 4:36 from this afternoon.
Excuse me. Can we all be quiet? I just want to be respectful to the person speaking. Thank you.
I have a picture at 4:36 before I came to this meeting of all of them shooting up at Veterans Park. I know you say when you're addressing them and stuff like that, but they're there morning, noon, and night, 24 hours a day.
Thank you. Let me ask Captain Boyles. It's probably the hardest question to answer. It's probably the hardest question to answer. Let me ask Captain Boyles.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll give some attention. I heard Veterans Park a couple of times tonight. We definitely put some resources in Veterans Park. And I'll do a seeing that people will speed out the issue and we'll check it out as well. Okay? Okay, we'll check it out. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ed. I live on Boston Street. And I like some of the ideas I heard about Mass and Cass, like the worst suites, the people dealing definitely should be forced. What I'm wondering is, I heard, decentralization, because I don't think, it's not working. It's a destination for everyone that's got an addiction, everyone that wants to sell somebody drugs that has an addiction, the mentally ill, everyone goes there. And so I was wondering, is there still ongoing efforts to decentralize the services, and is there any kind of effort to, rebrand the area just so it isn't known as like methadone vial or, all that?
Thank you. I actually represent myself and mostly Councilor Baker.
Can I answer that with my opinion?
Yeah, of course. Why not, Councilor Baker? But let me respond first. That is the goal, is decentralizing services in and around Mass and Cass. I also represent the downtown area. We have similar problems and challenges, including North Station area in Chinatown. So it's certainly in Mass and Cass is the focal point, but we need to decentralize that across the city, but also cities and towns across Massachusetts really need to step up to the plate. They haven't done their share. Having said that, Councilor Baker?
Well, we've been calling for decentralization, but moves like the Roundhouse Hotel down there show a clear signal to me that they're signing on for long term. That the city won't answer whether when that program went in there. I don't know if people are familiar with it. It was a 6-month program, then it became a 1 year. Now it's a 2 year, and in negotiating an MOU, there's a clause at the end that says, BMC may buy this. That means that program there, which is low-bar housing, meaning they're going in there, shooting up in there, sex trade's happening in there, drug dealing's going on there. And the reality is we need programming. We can't arrest our way out of it, but if we build Section 35 programs, we have Nick has some ideas that are happening, and the Congressman has some ideas that happen. If we put money into Section 35s and we do a real program and bring the people that are on the street to healing places, not places where they continue to use their drugs. And I'm not talking about getting rid of Suboxone, getting rid of any of that stuff. You allow that there, but without initial healing, we shouldn't be signing on to giving people housing. It needs to be intervention and treatment first. I think we're putting people on a treadmill here where they potentially in 5 years won't be around to be able to say, I was so. So to answer your question, no, I don't think the city of Boston has taken steps to decentralize down there. From some of the previous moves in the last 6 months, it seems like they're doubling down and going to increase services down there.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. The next person that will speak is Ellie Cass, but before Ellie will ask the question or comment, I want to recognize Senator Collins again.
So on decentralization, we need to use public assets. The Department of Mental Health was created years ago for a certain purpose. They have facilities in Longwood, they have facilities downtown, the Lindemann Center, along with Solomon Carrefour, which are the biggest buildings down on the BMC campus. Then we have something that I proposed that there's been some pushback to people, even though the Liberty Hotel was once a jail. It's not a jail now, it's a hotel. And so what I think we should do with National Street is turn it into a public health facility. So if the low threshold housing that exists, it's 64 square feet. So anyone says that sleeping in 64 square feet is more palatable than 120, which is roughly a jail cell that can be retrofitted for intervention 90 days. You can't change a bad habit in 90 days. Never mind breaking addiction without separation from that. A family that have been afflicted, so I know that personally, many in this room do. And that's it. If you can't give people 90 days, this is a very difficult path and an unlikely one. And we're going to continue seeing what we see. So with that intervention, needs to be treatment, but if you just have places that people can just come and go on their own design that aren't secure, these facilities are secure, the DMA facilities, we want to look towards that as housing. Because if you have a roof over your head for 90 days, intervene with treatment, there's no roof over your head. There's a roof over your head. And so I feel like we have to add that to the equation, otherwise we're going to be right where we are now.
Thank you, Senator Collins. Ellie Casper.
No, I didn't want the mic. I don't need it. This is going to be short and sweet. Thank you, Captain Boyle, for everything you do. You never fail us. You never fail us. In all the police, I appreciate everything. And I was trying to be delicate. I was practicing being delicate with my question because I don't want to offend you guys. But I was going to ask if you were able to convince Mayor Wu to eliminate the line item budget that cut $12 million from the police. Because today she eliminated that $10 million. So thank you very much. You don't get enough respect for the hard work you do, all of you. I say thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. My friend Phyllis, Task Force President Phyllis.
My question is, over at Mcdonough, half of the people there probably aren't even from the city of Boston. Why are we paying for people that come from the suburbs? Why can't we get money from the suburbs to pay for their people that we have to be responsible for that are wrecking our neighborhoods?
Thank you, Phyllis. You are correct. The public safety officials do have kind of a list of long-term residents in and around that area. They've been down there for a long period of time. Prior to this job, I was a probation officer with Chief Michael Forbes at Suffolk Superior, and I supervised the homeless community. I spent a lot of time down there as well. But you made a good point. Thank you, Phyllis. Is that Tommy back there?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy Pratt. I live in South Boston on East State Street. And I just want to know how you as the city council president, the last, 2 years we've been demoralizing police officers.
Yes.
Your city councilor, Julia Mejia, demoralized the police officer in the middle of the street last week. And I heard zero.
Tommy, you heard zero. Tommy, you heard
demoralized. Police officer.
You heard zero from who?
Your office had the Globe, the Herald, everybody puts it. What are you going to do to your city councilor? If I was to do that, threaten a citizen in the street, he would go after my job, right? OPAC would go after me, the Post would go after me, Internal Affairs would go after me. What are you going to do to Julie Mejia for admonishing a junior police officer doing his job on a Thursday afternoon? You going to do anything about that?
Yeah.
Do you want me to respond, Tommy?
Yeah, I do.
Honestly.
Honestly, that's a good one. Honestly.
Well, can I answer, Tony?
It's very close to everything else. The council, not necessarily Frank, not necessarily Erin, right? The council.
Not necessarily me. Not necessarily Mike Flaherty either.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, and watch you walk on TV. You walk all the time.
Can I answer your question, Tommy?
No,
Can I answer your question, Tommy?
Go ahead, Ed.
If you want an answer, I'll answer. That day,
I'm sitting down there, I'm listening.
That day I went by to see Captain Sweetie, and I talked to Captain Sweetie. I talked to my colleague. I'm not going to talk about an ongoing situation as you would not want me to talk about an ongoing situation happening at your police station either. But believe me, it's being dealt with. Do you need more information than that?
It needs to be dealt with publicly. You should address it publicly.
Are you going to get on the news? I see that again.
Does anyone... Tommy, I'm going to go on to other questions. Does anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Just like the Zoom meetings, Ed. Boom, you don't like the answer, you shut people up.
Bill Biele?
15 in the police department for 2 years. Now all of a sudden it's a love fest.
Bill Biele, City Point Neighborhood Association?
Tough to follow that. Bill Bailey, City Point Neighborhood Association. We've been following the growth of South Boston for a long time. Steve, we've been in meetings for a long time. It has been growing and expanding. Seaport being one example. Also down in Andrew Square with the great work with the Andrew Square Association, building that up to try to rid crime as well. But what I'm trying to get you now is that we are not seeing the resources growing with the expansion. And we're just wondering when that's going to happen, number one, and I'll put that to you, Eddie. I got a couple other questions as well. We've got a great panel of police, and I think everybody knows that we all support you guys, very much so. But I think, Steve, I'm going to put this one to you. Because there are so many different uniforms out there, we don't see one centralized uniform, one centralized head handling our drug problems that are going on here. So we get great responses from the MBTA police, the state police. We see needles everywhere. They're down behind the skating rink down at City Point. They're down on almost every street that's seeing needles. Is there a way we can get one centralized federal resource, because the resources are extremely limited on these guys. I give them great credit on handling it, even from some of our public officials. Can we get one centralized resource dedicated here, not just come in on every Monday and try to do that? Can we get one centralized resource that we can call, we can have at these meetings and say, I have the answers, or I can answer the questions on where they are, Steve? And I hope that's possible, and I hope you can follow up with where are resources coming from the growth of this neighborhood. It's the largest growing neighborhood in Boston, and we're not seeing, we are yet to see a police station that we negotiated for, and God knows how many meetings we went through years and years ago. We're not seeing the police stations down there, we're not seeing a fire station built down there. So two questions there, Steve, if you don't mind answering that, and then Eddie, if you can follow up with the resources that we need, especially for all the high taxes that we're paying down in this area.
So when you heard each of our law enforcement officials step up, they all described their jurisdiction, right? You know, the MBTA is basically on the T and any surrounding areas on the apron of the stations. State police talk about, you know, we've got Day Boulevard, goes all the way out to Castle Island, but then also goes out to Pope John Paul Park. They have their jurisdiction. The city of Boston has theirs. The state police also have jurisdiction in and around the seaport area too, because of the shipping concerns and the maritime activity down there. So they, by statute, they're all diced up into different areas. We do have a joint task force, though. It anticipates what you were talking about. So, especially on the drug trade issue, and I can add in the DEA. So we have because the drugs are coming from outside our borders, we have to have an agency that is able to, you know, transcend our borders and actually interdict that stuff as it's coming into the country. So the state police, the Boston police are part of that task force that we have. Also, I believe the county sheriff's office is also involved in some of that as well, and the DEA. So we do have, and we provide joint funding for those task forces as well, that operate in a sort of a hand-in-glove operation, so that they are, some of the problems that we've seen exist is a lack of communication between the different law enforcement agencies. So we provide funding for that joint task force communications, and that's how it's funded right now from the federal level. In terms of the city resources, I was able to present acting Mayor Janey with a check for about $377 million from the federal government to try to address some of the concerns we have right now. I can tell you that there's a bill in the discussion right now that is quote gun legislation in the Senate. However, if you read the different sections of the bill, a lot of that funding is going towards behavioral health in the city, because while we do see a gun problem, a lot of it is because people are getting access to guns who have no business receiving a license to carry, or having in those states that don't require a license to carry, getting permission to carry a firearm. So
we're trying to do a comprehensive approach to that one issue, but it really is a larger crime bill that will give resources to all the agencies that are here tonight, and especially those that are working together in joint task forces. So right now we think that there's sufficient funding being pushed out the door in Washington, but I think because of the complicated nature of this, it's taking a while to get to the street. So some of it goes directly to the governor, some of it will require legislative action in terms of the state legislature, some of it will require action on the part of the mayor and the city council. But it is all, what we try to do is give each city, each location, each state the discretion to use their money in the method and the fashion that they see most effective within their jurisdiction. So we do get.
The mayor cut the budget. You shouldn't give her the discretion. Something needs to be done.
I'm talking about the money that came from the federal government. She didn't refuse it. She didn't cut the budget. She got the money. What you're talking about is money going out for other purposes. This is the $377 million that we gave to Mayor Janey early on, but obviously she was in such a short period of time that naturally it's actually at the discretion of this mayor right now on how to spend that.
I just wanted to say something. My name is Shannon, and I'm born and raised in South Boston. I still have many family members still in this community. And I hear about resources. I hear about the need for new police entering the force, retention. I was arrested outside of Mayor Wu's house for peacefully protesting for kids in masks in schools because it was 3 long months since all the rest of the state and Boston kids were still in masks. All I want you to know is she allots herself 12 to 15 people to protect her from me, a mother, advocating for children in Boston schools. Why are you guys begging them for the proper resources to be at Veterans Park? 12 to 15 police officers.
Can you ask your question, please?
So my question is, the allotment and the resources, why is she, who's cutting the budget, getting this protection for herself? Why don't we have it in the BHA?
Thank you.
Why don't we have it in downtown Boston? Because I'm too worried about my grandmother. I'm too worried about my mother. I work on the president. Being unprotected, but they are looking for all the resources.
I'm going to try to respond.
Okay, that's how it goes, right?
Yes.
And I'm still looking for my 20 minutes from you, by the way.
I'm going to respond to Bill Bailey's question. We had a question before. Bill, you asked about the city resources in the South Boston community. Myself and Councilor Flaherty were able to get money into the budget, so we're able to build an EMS station down the Southie waterfront. It's a priority for us to have a fire station in the South Boston waterfront as well. Senator Collins and Representative Biele have also been fighting for a public library as well. We have a lot of work to do. We don't have the city resources at the South Boston waterfront. I agree, but I'm working hard to get that. I already got the money in the budget for the EMS station, so I just wanted to set the record clear. The other point I wanted to highlight is we did have a vote recently to cut the overtime of the Boston police. There were 4 city councilors that voted against it. 4 city councilors voted against cuts to the Boston police. Can I respond? Chico, can I respond? Thank you. Chico, thank you. The councilors that fought for funding for the police, fully funding for the police, was myself, Frank Baker, Erin Murphy, and Michael Flaherty. So 9 to 4 votes. I don't want to make this about me, but I want to ask Reverend Eugene Rivers, who's been very patient. Reverend, can you? Thank you, Reverend.
I just have a question.
Reverend Eugene.
No, I'll keep it brief. First, I want to thank everyone. First, I want to thank everyone for the excellent work that all of you folks have been doing, fighting on this issue of public safety. Real quick,
The community I represent suffers so because of the opposition that the law enforcement is. I'm here to support law enforcement for tough, fair, use of force or whatever you need to do. My question is, how can members of our community begin to partner more effectively on our side to redirect the kids if just locking them up's not the thing? My question is, how can we begin a conversation? I want to see bad kids sentenced to educational programs, especially young guys. I want to develop a program where a kid is sentenced to literacy. And I'm from Philly, so I'm a boxing dude, right? And I'd like to take these young men, put some gloves on them, and then make them read a book. And do this 11 months a year. And so I just need to know how one can develop a program out of school, after school, in collaboration with law enforcement. So the officers say, Reverend Rivers, we got 6 knuckleheads. Those are my people. Take them in the gym. I've got some tough men. We put the gloves on them, and we see how tough they are. And so we support everything you're doing. We just want to up our game in terms of having 11-month interventions to take every dude who thinks he's a bad kid. Give them to us. Let us take the bad kids and provide the discipline that they're not receiving. So I want to work with you. I'm going to talk to the clergy. I want to thank you all for the excellent work that you folks are doing. And I and my preacher buddies, we stand in solidarity with this community in terms of their legitimate concerns around this public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Janet Brad, and I'm a lifelong person of South Boston. And I just want to ask Councilor Flynn, how did you vote on the recent budget?
We had a vote several days ago on the police budget specifically. And as I mentioned, it was 9-4. We were against cutting the police budget. Now there's more work we have to do going forward we have a new participatory budget process that's playing itself out now. And we're able to allocate more funding for various departments based on a vote that the residents took. So the residents have the biggest say now in what goes in the budget. The city councilors have a bigger say what goes in the budget. So that's where we're at now. But on the police, let me be clear. I have advocated since I've been on the city council. I think we need to hire 300 police officers every year because of retirements and for other reasons. We need to keep up, excuse me. We need to keep up the manning levels in the city of Boston. We don't currently have it. Our police are working forced overtime, 16-hour shifts. So we need to hire more police. Myself and my colleagues on the city council will continue to advocate for more police on the street. Has anyone got weighed in yet?
My name is Biele, and I'm here with my brother Joe. We've lived in Erin Square since 2018, and I really just have a question for all law enforcement. We all really appreciate what you guys do. I know you do a really tough job. Every morning, every night, I see people shooting up, people breaking the law, people taking shit, people taking pisses. In front of kids, in front of elderly adults. I'm sorry for swearing, but what I really would like to ask you guys is, we talk about we're underfunded, we're undermanned. We also talk about a partnership, and I could call 911 every morning and every evening, quite frankly, but I also don't want to just dump you guys with a bunch of calls that you probably have something more serious to do. So my honest question is, starting tomorrow, what do you want us to do different as citizens when we see the law being broken? And for the DA, I hope that we do have law and order in this country, because lately it feels like the police show up, they're like, we wish we could do something, but the DA said, screw, so.
I still think it's important to call 911. The police will sworn. C6 is very professional. They're outstanding police officers. Let me ask Captain Boyle if he wants to weigh in any more than that.
Yeah, I would just add, who wants to be involved, attend the community meetings, attend your local community meetings. That's where we get our best information, and that's where we solve our problems. So, if you want to help out and pass information, you need to deal with the CSO, you can deal with me, but attending these community meetings do make a difference. So I just wanted to add that. I see some great things that you felt.
The people shooting up Erin, they look right at me, and I look back at them, and I go inside and I call the police. And I'm not trying to be passive aggressive, but what happens to them? Like, if I were to just shoot up Erin right now, like, what is the penalty?
Excuse me. Could I call someone that hasn't responded yet? Billy Mcdonough?
Councilor Mcdonough from G Street. I have a list, but I'm going to go real quick because it's getting late. I just want to say I have friends and family, past and present, who have been law enforcement all the way down through the court system. I just want to say one thing. We all know what's going on. We all know what's going on, right? We all know what the problem is. Well, let's fix it.
That's it.
Let's start worrying about the other side, the ACLU. Take those kids, or whoever's causing a problem, take them to court, and then let the ACLU sue you, and let this stuff go to court, let it keep on going. They'll be off the street. We know what the problem is. We got to get the money. We got to fix it. And not to bash Michelle, Michelle who?
Shame over!
But come on, I mean, she's shutting down the streets now. She's having parties. Like, do we really need this stuff right now? What happened after the Celtics game the other night? Now she's got a disco party going on. She's shut down another street having another party. Come on, let's get back to normalism. Boston was never like this. That's right. All through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, through Brexit.
Excuse me. I want to keep control of the meeting. If we can be respectful to our Southwest neighbors. Thank you. Billy, you can say.
My last question is, the laws that we do have one that really bugs me that doesn't seem to be allowed anymore, I guess. You get caught with a gun, we voted this in, you go away for a year. What happened to that? That's my question.
Thank you, Billy. The question earlier about what can we do when we see people using illegal drugs. Let me ask Lieutenant Messina again to come on up and respond and give a little bit more update and information. Lieutenant. So I'm just going to give a quick example. 2 weeks ago, we arrested someone down there. She had multiple warrants. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. One of my officers there with us. At 4 o'clock that afternoon, my officers texted me and said, "She's back out here walking the street." It's not the DA's office. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody, but there's a problem in the system. Correct, it is both crisis.
And while the mayor's litigating with all the safety unions, even after the mayor had joined, we don't have people who can reach out to people. We work this.
So I guess I get one question at a time, but I'm just saying a quick example.
Everybody, the whole city is so social and actually, there's companies that help the actual public health crisis.
Thank you. We're going to allow the Lieutenant to respond. Can you please continue, Lieutenant? Just respectfully, it's a revolving door system. And like I said before, we tried, we're arresting around 98% this year. Excuse me. Can you finish? The revolving door, there's a bunch of different agencies involved, including the courts. Those agencies, 9 out of 10 of those agencies are here tonight. The DA's office has been an incredible partner. They are, from start to finish, they've been an incredible partner. But you have to understand, all of these, when someone gets arrested, they go to court. So it's a revolving door system right now.
Oh, it is.
Thank you. Before we conclude, I'm going to ask, excuse me, before we conclude, and talk a little about what the Suffolk County District Attorney is doing on these issues.
Thanks, Councilor.
He's right here.
My name's Kevin Mullen. I work for Kevin Hayden. Now,
Where's Kevin Hayden?
Kevin's at a meeting. He's at a meeting just like this.
Excuse me. Can we be respectful? Can we be respectful to the person? Can we be respectful to the person that is speaking? Thank you.
DA Hayden is at a meeting just like this. And I believe it's in Dudley Square. He asked us to be here instead to answer your questions. Now, one of the big questions that came up is what goes on at Mass and Cass. Now, one of the things we're doing, and Boston has been a phenomenal partner, we're targeting the people who commit violent crimes and trying to put them in jail. Excuse me, we're doing a pretty good job. There's pimps, heavy-duty drug pushers, there's shootings, there's stabbings, there's guns.
And they're not being arrested.
And they are being arrested in the Boston police.
Excuse me. Can you be respectful?
We actually I asked to have this meeting so that the community could interact with us and with law enforcement. But we can't just have someone get up here, somebody shout a question, and then the person up here never gets to respond because people talk right through them. That's ignorant. That's ignorant and disrespectful. That is ignorant and disrespectful. And this is a good reflection of that. This is a good reflection of that. So I've been in this community 67 years. And I remember a day when we could have a discussion and share ideas and have differences, but be respectful of one another.
Stop being so damn rude.
No, this is social media. This is your phone up like that. That's what you're all about. No, it's a show to you. These people here are trying to...
Let me ask the Assistant District Attorney, Kevin Mullen, to highlight what his team is doing at the Suffolk DA's office. I would ask if we could be respectful and give him a couple minutes to give his opinion. Thank you.
I just want to ask
Could I ask the Assistant District Attorney to speak? Could I ask the District Attorney?
I'm happy to answer your questions here or in any other venue. The DA is committed to this community. He's committed to keeping the people of this community safe. Our entire executive staff in the DA's office lives in the city of Boston. I've lived here for 54 years. Howard Biden, the chief of staff, has lived here for 56 years. We are prioritizing crimes of violence. We are prioritizing quality of life issues. We just took $400,000 that we seized from drug pushers and we used it for drug and mental health treatment at Mass and Cass. At the same time at Mass and Cass, we're concentrating on arresting the pimps, the drug pushers, the people with the guns. We just entered a new partnership with the ATF. The Congressman mentioned that we have partnerships with DEA. The ATF has just committed agents specifically to the city of Boston, and the Boston police have committed 2 detectives full-time to go after the people who are trafficking the guns. Boston isn't a place where the guns come from. We are the recipients of the guns. They're trafficked here. We are the victims of the gun trafficking. So we're specifically targeting the people trafficking the guns in the city of Boston. I'm happy to answer your questions, either in this venue or other venues. We are doing everything we can to keep this community safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we conclude, there was one person that specifically asked me to speak. It's Susan Mcdonough, who's the commander of the
means that I'll be running the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So I asked if I could be here today to address the community. And I want to say thank you to Councilman Flynn very much for letting me have this platform for this. And I also want to thank Captain Biele here because he promised me he's going to work with me on the safety issues that surround the parade. And that's important. I know it's an issue. I know we're not thinking about St. Patrick's Day Parade right now, but we will be soon enough. And that's what I want to tell you all. I want to let you know that there are veterans out here who deserve a better parade than we had this year. And this community deserves more respect than it gets when it comes around the parade time and the outsiders coming in here and destroying our neighborhoods. Everyone's nervous, and hopefully it's not going to be done overnight, but hopefully it will be a start of the process of great friendship. And since I have the mic, I want to take an opportunity here because I can't believe the anger in this room. Cannot believe it. It's insulting to people who live here. Okay, if there's a problem, you need to step up and be part of the solution. That's what you need to do. And then another thing, if you talk about these people out here on the streets, is a hip law. They can't. You don't have to know what to do. There's a hip law. So when these policemen get into the hospital or to the jail or wherever they need for their help, they're so high, they get back out. No family member can join them or help them. So these people out here on the streets sick, whether it's heroin, mental illness, or anything else, it's not an easy fix. It doesn't come overnight. Be part of the solution. Be part of it.
Thank you, Commander. Before we wrap, sir.
A question. My name is David Gold. I've been an activist against corporate control of government here in the Boston area for 20 years.
Sir, what neighborhood are you from?
I live in Weston.
Where?
Weston.
So there was talk up there about stopping people who are distributing fentanyl, which is a deadly poison, and I agree with that. But can't we also do something to stop the people who are producing and distributing the so-called COVID vaccine, which is also harming more people and people getting sick and dying every day after they get their COVID shot. But the government, instead of stopping it, the government and politicians are working for Big Pharma, encouraging and coercing people to take this poison injection. It needs to stop.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, I want to say to Luann, can you speak for 30 seconds? Okay, Luann, just you can speak for the other man.
Danny, come in and make a point.
Thank you, Lynn. Please be respectful to Lynn. She's a South Boston neighbor, and she wants to speak for a few seconds. Lynn.
So I'm representing the City Neighborhood Association, lifetime resident. Excuse me, I need my 15 minutes of fame. Okay, just a minute. So that being said, I want to get back to guns. I want to get back to illegal guns on the street because our neighborhood is being shot up. Okay, and that's not okay. So to the district attorney's office, to echo Touchy, there used to be a law, 1 year automatic. I don't know what's going on, but I know Arroyo, okay, who is running for DA, is not in that same place that we're all in. The other thing that I do want to mention is the city council, the 9 city councilors, I will take Mahia right on, because what she's doing is a disgrace. I testify at...
Well, Lynn, can you tell me what your question is? I just want to wrap this up.
My question is, I testified at the Boston Police budget hearing, and it was an absolute disgrace. It was a witch hunt for the Boston Police. And with that being said, I would like the City Council, Councilor Flynn, as president, to figure out something that we're going to do. Because all of this is coming down to lack of police. And why do we have lack of police? Because you've got people that want to get rid of brick. You want to defund them, reallocate. It's not okay. So if we have police on board in our community addressing our issues, okay, then that's what we need. And until we get it, none of this matters.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. On behalf of the South Boston elected officials, on behalf of the public safety professionals that are here tonight, I want to say thank you to you for coming up tonight. I want to apologize for the disrespectful comments of a handful of people, but for the most part, the residents of South Boston have always been respectful. But I do want to apologize on some of the rude comments tonight. But I want to say thank you to the public safety officials and my colleagues as well. Thank you. Thank you to the iron workers on the side.